session today. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, and welcome to this ministry, the Ministry of Energy and Power Development. And it is tasked with the responsibility to ensure affordability, sustainability, and energy security for the whole country. And this is captured in several acts of parliament that have been assigned to us by the president, the principal ones being the Zimbabwe Energy Regulatory Authority, which regulates all issues to deal with energy, from electricity to fuel to gas and all the related renewable energy sources. We also have the ZESA Act, which has several subsectors, the ZESA Holdings, the ZEDC, the Zimbabwe Power Corporation, the one which generates power, and the not so well spoken about PowerTel, which is the backbone of the ICT for ZESA, as well as ZENT, the ZESA Enterprise company. We are also responsible for the Rural Electrification Fund, which funds the Rural Electrification Agency. That is crucial for our development. Of course, there are new areas of entry, such as the pipelines. We have had only one pipeline, and given the fact that we now have gas and we have now oil in Mozarabani, we need to now do the infrastructure on gas pipelines. So that, in broad terms, is the ministry. And of course, we operate at head office here. The ministry has offices in the provinces. We don't have too much on the districts, except maybe RIA, which is distributed all over. But for ZESA, it's important to know that ZESA operates 72 depots across the country. I think there's only one other organization of government which is so distributed, is GMB, which is operating in 88 depots. This shows you the extent to which energy supports the economy of this country. So, again, welcome.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
The SADC Ministers of Energy decided to have these Sustainable Energy Weeks. The first one was held in Botswana last year, and we are the second to hold this Sustainable Energy Week. And we look forward to looking at policies that are applicable in the SADC region. We also want to exchange on technologies, as well as looking at our Southern African power pool, the energy mix, the sources of energy that we have, and how we can expand with renewable without forgetting our base load, which is based on coal, which is based on large hydro schemes. But we want to energize other sources of energy, such as solar, wind. We want to look at even issues of waste to energy, and that goes about cleaning our cities, but at the same time we use it for energy. So we look forward to a lot of exhibitions by our own people to attract investment. Yes.
Brilliant. That is a magnificent step. Going on to now to question number 2. How do discussions at this regional forum translate into practical solutions for Zimbabwe's ongoing power shortages?
Well, our power shortages are in two ways. First, we have a shortage of generation. And that shortage of generation, we hope to attract many investors. And we are already having a number of investors who are indicating that they can use thermal. But more importantly, we are accelerating the investment in the solar sector. The second aspect of our shortage is inefficiencies, transmission losses, inefficiencies in retailing, in distribution, and this is crucial for the development of Zimbabwe and for the SADC region. So we will be discussing about energy efficiency, and we will be discussing about the expansion of our generation and using our renewable energies. In addition, the power losses that we are getting, we hope that we will exchange information on how we can curtail the transmission losses, because that also makes an increase in shortages. But over and above all, where we have not penetrated, we want to see whether we can use renewables to penetrate in some remote areas where the power grid is not there. So shortages are in several aspects of what we want to look at.
What new regional commitments or agreements, if any, does the ministry expect to emerge from this year's Sustainable Energy Week?
Well, we have already made some regional agreements. We have signed a memorandum with Mozambique. We have signed another memorandum with Zambia on gas pipelines, on power, on petroleum products pipelines. These we want to jointly start telling people how we can invest in those. Secondly, we have also agreed as the Council of Ministers between Zambia and Zimbabwe that we are going to have another transmission line. It is part of the Savona, which is a SADC-wise transmission line, which is supposed to come from Zimbabwe to Zambia, to Botswana and Namibia. But we have already agreed it is in three parts. Zimbabwe and Zambia are now putting closure so that we can do and get to Mkuni. This is very important because we will then be able to evacuate power that is in excess either in South Africa or Mozambique. We can evacuate it to Zambia and onward to DRC and other countries. So we will be discussing this. Over and above that, SADC has issues to do with generation. And we want to look at Batoka, we want to look at the Devil's Gorge, Mpata Gorge, and Mpatakua Gorge, but the biggest one is Inga. And the SADC has been pushing for this Inga scheme, which, as you know, will be able to generate in one place over 40,000 megawatts. And that will not only help Southern Africa, but it will help the whole of Africa.
In a nutshell, you have taken me to my next question. And how is Zimbabwe aligning its energy transition now that you have spoken about the SADC priorities? How is this in alignment with NDS2 and Vision 2030?
As Zimbabwe, we have crafted our energy compact. That energy compact has 5 pillars. The other pillars I've already talked about infrastructure and generation. But the critical issue that we have now aligned with NDS2 is the issue of renewables. We want to increase our renewables to non-hydro to about 27%, 26%, 27% in terms of contribution to the whole compact. And so during these discussions, we will be unpacking our compact so that investors as well as other actors, investors within Zimbabwe, investors outside Zimbabwe, will be able to see what we want to do in order to fulfill our compact requirements. But our compact requirement is part of our NDS2 requirements. So those two documents, you can read them conjunctively.
Thank you, Honorable. What role will regional power trade through Southern African power pool play in stabilizing Zimbabwe's electricity supply?
Wow. At any given time, we have shortages in Zimbabwe. we have shortages in Zambia, we have shortages in South Africa, and we have the only country that maybe has not had shortages in the last 10 years is Mozambique. So because of this Southern African power pool, which was enacted by our leaders in 1995, we have been able to get electricity from South Africa where they have excess. Like right now, they have over 4,000 megawatts of excess power, and we access it through various means, either contractually or just buying on the market. So the Southern African power pool is a very critical instrument for the integration of our own power systems in Southern Africa. But once we have the interconnectors between Zambia and Tanzania, we will be able to actually trade all the way to Cairo through the Eastern African power pool and the Northern African power pool, and we will be able also to trade with West Africa through DRC and Congo. So our Southern African power pool is the oldest and the most advanced of the power pools in Africa.
By Zimbabwe hosting the SADC Energy Week, how is the ministry positioning Zimbabwe to attract sustainable energy investments during this week?
The government of Zimbabwe and the president has said Zimbabwe is open for business. And what the president has directed is we in energy must look at all our fees and charges to make sure that we attract investment. So through the ease of doing business, we have been able to relook at licenses that are paid to ZERA, for instance, some licenses that are paid to ZESA, and reduce them so that we can attract investment. We have opened up at the retail level where we have said, can you bring the private sector, domestic and otherwise, to go and invest and run retail energy electrification to these dark cities such as Caledonia, for instance. So we have opened up, and we want to exhibit and say to our Zimbabwean people, can you now take up the mantle, because the government has liberalized and the president has been on the forefront to make sure that the energy sector, we can give power purchase agreement, we can actually attract people with ease of doing business. We can have them national project status where they can bring their equipment without being charged customs. So all the issues that the president wanted us to do, we have done. We also want to sign with anybody who wants to invest in Zimbabwe a government project support agreement that attracts an investor to say, when you have invested and you have brought in your capital, you can actually, if it is in a form of loan, the government guarantees that you can externalize using foreign currency to amortize your loans. In addition, when you are now running it and you are making money and you want to externalize your dividend, that is guaranteed by government.
Thank you, Honorable. It appears it is going to be a promising program, a promising week for Zimbabwe as a whole, for the ministry as well. Taking me to the next question, what lessons is Zimbabwe drawing from other SADC countries on expanding renewable energy generation?
Well, if you look at SADC, we are at different levels. In Zimbabwe, we are saying we are at 62% penetration. And in the rural areas, we are far from satisfying our people. Although this year, through the president's directive, we are going to electrify every primary school, every secondary school, and every clinic, so that no one and no place is left behind. But when you look at overall the penetration of electricity in the rural areas, there is a very big gap. And when we look at countries like Tanzania, for instance, clean cooking, they have gone very far ahead of us, using gas, LPG, and here, while we are also following up in the footsteps, we are still behind, so we want to learn from what they have done. South Africa, which had a shortage, has used the renewable energy sources to expand, while not forgetting that they still have a base of coal-fired plants, but they've expanded so tremendously their renewable energy. So we will be learning from each other what each one is doing. That's why we have, during this conference, we have allowed countries to have sessions where they can present their own compacts or their own strategies so that we can learn from each other. And we have invited other people from outside. AJ Ayuk, for instance, the one who normally is the Africa Energy Week in South Africa, he's going to be one of our big speakers who can energize and galvanize all of us to look at what we ought to be doing, and Zimbabwe wants to benefit from it.
Thank you so much, Honorable. From your response, however, we have drawn that your approach, the SADC Sustainable Energy Week approach, is promoting access for low-income and marginalized communities to have energy. Bringing me to the next question. What accountability mechanisms are in place to ensure commitments made at the SADC forums result in tangible outcomes? They are not just mere talks.
Wow. It's at two levels. Each country makes commitments, like we have made commitments in our energy compact. That is superintended by our government, a whole-of-government approach. That's why we report to Cabinet on issues that we do all the time. So accountability is enforced in Zimbabwe through a weekly report to Cabinet about what we are doing, what we are not doing well, and how we hope to improve. That is accountability. Then at the SADC-wide level, there are projects that SADC is wanting to make sure that they are implemented because they have a SADC-wide implementation modalities, such as the Inga Dam, for instance. SADC will be reporting on that. Our interconnectors, whether Zizabona or Mosiza, the ones Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and South Africa, transmission, that will be reported by SADC from time to time. The interconnectors that I have talked about, which includes the one from Zambia to Tanzania, and from Angola to Zambia, those will be reported by SADC, and we have SADC energy ministers meetings every year. And so this year, because South Africa is chairing SADC, I'm sure we will be given enough progress reports on all of those. So accountability is built in either in country or SADC-wise implementation modalities.
Thank you, Honorable. From what you have said in a nutshell, finally, what message does the ministry have for Zimbabweans who expect SADC Sustainable Energy Week 2026 to deliver real relief from power challenges?
Well, all we can say, Zimbabweans have shown an ability to invest in energy. If I tell you that our power balance now starts from your home, those who put their solar power plants or their solar, they have solar at their houses, they can actually net meter by going to ZESA and making sure that when you don't use that energy, send it back to ZESA, and ZESA will take it. We are at 74 megawatts right now, and those who have indicated they want to connect with us are over 100 megawatts. So we continue to say those who have solar systems connect with us. Secondly, we also are telling Zimbabweans that there is a lot of captive power that is coming online. Companies that used to use a lot of electricity from the national power grid are now off that grid, and that has alleviated the demand for load shedding. And because of that and the management that we expect to do, we think that we are poised for a better future. But over and above that, energy efficiency, which every household, every company should be able to engage in. Use solar lights, which are energy savings. Don't leave, you go around the offices even at midnight when there's not one person, the lights are on. That is what we should be telling our Zimbabweans to say, let's use energy efficiency. When you do energy efficiency, you are actually doing as if you are generating more electricity. So Zimbabweans must participate in the energy savings. And we look forward to your participation in Victoria Falls. And you can see we already have those companies. The last time I checked, exhibitions were approaching 40 companies, domestic and outside. So come and learn about the energy systems in the whole of SADC countries. They will be there. Mauritius has 100% access. We will be learning from them. But as I say, clean cooking for women. You need to learn about what is happening in Tanzania, and no more busi pakubika.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for clarity. But before we proceed, for the benefit of Nephenyu, Honorable Minister,
Mwari, tine zuva rakawanda, kumwe tine mvura, kumwe tine marara atinoshandisa mumatown, kuti izvozvo zvitipe magetsi. Saka vakatanga kuita rimwe bato rinonzi SACRI, rinova ibato riri pasi peSADC Secretariat, rinogara vakuru vacho vanotungamigwa nomuzvari womuno muZimbabwe unonzi Lukula, vari kuNamibia. Ivavo ndo vari kutungamira kuti tishandise zvinhu zvetinazvo. Tine marasha yedu ecoal, tine mvura yedu kunana Kariba, but kozuva iri rakangotekeshera nyika yose tingarishandisa sei. Ndo zvaita kuti tiinde kuVictoria Falls, tinoongorora kuti vamwe vanoita sei. Tovona kuti vokunana Tanzania vanoita sei, vokunana Zambia vanoita sei, voku DRC vanoita sei. Nyika dzose dzomuno munyika dziri kuchamhembe cheAfrica vari kuita sei kuti tirambe tichiona zvinhu zvetingashandisa, zvetinogara nazvo, zvimwe zvetinoona mazuva ese. Ndo zvaita kuti tinosangana kuVictoria Falls. Zvatakatenderana zvikuru ndozvokuti tiite bato rinonzi Southern African Power Pool. Iroro bato iroro ratibatsira kuti kana isu tikashayiwa magetsi, voku Zambia vanawo tinotenga kuZambia, obuya nanda achiwisiwa nezvinofambisa zvedu zvatinoti transmission. Iye zvino tine nyika dziri muno muSouthern Africa vane magetsi akawanda kupfuura avanoshandisa. Saka isu nemhaka yekuti edu mashoma tinotenga kwavari, ende tatenderana kuti vatitengesere. Zvimwe zvatakatenderana ndozvokuti mafuta anobva kunana Bhaira uko, pipeline yatanga tinayo iko zvino yavadiki, hatiikudzei. Tiri kuikudza kubva pa 3 billion kusvika pa 5 billion. Asi vokuZambia vo vakati aiwa nesuvo panhambo chokuti pipeline inouya namafuta yogara muno muHarare, vozotora nemota. Hatichiitai kuti pachibvumirano chetinacho tiite pipeline inonosvika kuLusaka. I'm sure kuti ivo kuLusaka vavachati hainde kuNdola, vokuNdola vozoti hainde kuDRC, nokuti vese ivo vanotora mafuta kubva kuBhaira vachizouya vachiatora muno. Saka zvibvumirano izvi zvatakaita nenyika dzakasiyana siyana, zvimwe zvacho takazviita seSADC yakabatana.
Pane vararamati inefficiencies ringangoreva kuti kusanyatsoitwa basa zvakanaka nemabhazi akasiyana siyana takanangana nekuunza magetsi. imhosho dzipi idzodzo dzamati inefficiencies?
Imhosho dzakawanda dzinotanga mumba kuti magetsi anofana kuchengetedzwa, nokuti ukachengetedza magetsi ako ukaisa malights asinganyanyisi kutora moto wakawanda unenge wadozvibatsira kuti mari yako ive shoma. Saka iwe somugari womumba imomo, sababa kana mai veimomo, kana vana vachitambisa magetsi zvisina kodzero, vakasiya aini ichingova on, ungodoziva kuti inefficiency. Then kozoti toti zesa dzimwe tambo dzacho dzachembera, mawaya avo achembera, and iwawo ukaindisa magetsi anorashikira mudondo, inefficiency futi iyoyo. Saka ndio dzetinechiti todzigadzirisa sei kuti pasava nekurashikirwa kwemagetsi, kuti magetsi kana abuda abva panapa anofana kusvika akakwana, inefficiency dzetechitarisira. Saka kune mamwe vari nyanzvi nemichina yokuona kuti zvingaitwa sei, vachange vari ikoko kuVictoria Falls vachiratidza kuti uyai muone imwe vemudzimba, uyai muone imwe vana zesa, uyai muone imwe vana ZPC kuti mungagadzirisa sei.
Vanoda kuita zvemagetsi mati vanokwanisa kutenga michina kana kuti magadgets duty free vachiuya kuzoita zvemagetsi. Mungapajekesa zvakanaka ipapo nekuti vamwe vanotiko havasi kunyatsonzwisisa kuti zvinofamba sei, muchibva mapedzisa nenyaya yekutiko NDS2 yatanga. What are you doing?
Zvakatogadzirwa nehurumende takatungamirwa naPresident Mnangagwa ndokuti zvese zvinofanira kubatsira magetsi, mutengo uya unoiswa naMinister weFinance wokuti kana ukauya nesola yako unonzi bhadhara customs duty, iwoyo wakabvisiwa. Saka sola yako inongouya haibhadhari. Zvinoita kuti vanoda kuuya nemasola vakwanise kuuya. Saka taona vanhu vachiuya namasola akawanda, asi iko zvinovo isu takaongorora tikaona kuti mamwe masola anouya haana kunyasa kunaka. Saka takaudza Zera kuti aiwa Zera, ongororai zvinhu zvinouya izvi kuti zvibatsire vanhu vemuno muZimbabwe. Saka izvozvo ndio zvetiri kuita iko zvino, asi takadokudziwa naPresident kuti tizviite. Going forward, tinofunga kuti even vanhu vanonoisavo magetsi iwawo vesola vanofanira kuva noruzivo, vadzidziswa kuti magetsi esola anoiswa sei. Dzimwe dzimba vanongonotora munhu usingagoni, dzimwe dzimba dzinotsva nenyaya yokusaisa magetsi zvakanaka. Saka tichida kuti vanhu vafundisiwe futi kuti vaise magetsi zvakanaka. Mu-NDS2 medu ndati isu takaita inonzi energy compact yakapinda mudare rinotungamirwa naPresident rinonzi cabinet ikati ndozvetoda kuita. President vakasaina, iko zvino tinotevedzera zvikamu zvishanu zvecompact iyoyo, yose zviri zvishanu zviri mu-NDS2. Chokutanga ndoyokuti hativonei kuti magetsi tunoabika sei, magetsi achafambiswa sei, yetinoti transmission, magetsi achasvika sei kudzimba. Tinoziva kuti mimwe michina yedu nezokuitisa izvozvo zvashakara. Saka mu-NDS2 tine dzidzo yokuti tizvigadzirise. Number 2, takaongorora kuti kune vanhu vana mabhizinesi avo vava vakangomira kuti zvese zvichaitwa nezesa. Tikavati haiwa iko zvino President vati huyai, nyika yakazaruka, vari muno muZimbabwe navari panze, huyai muzoisavo mari yenyu mumagetsi. Saka yetinoti private sector participation irimo mu-NDS2. Number 3 ndeyamataura iyo kuti koiva vatinodzidzana navo matransmission yedu anoenda Zambia, anoenda Botswana, anoenda Mozambique, kwese kwese. Zimbabwe ndiyo iri pakati penyika idzodzo. Saka ese magetsi anobva kuSouth Africa anopfuura nomuno, anobva Mozambique anopfuura nomuno, anobva Botswana anopfuura nomuno, anobva Zambia achidzika anopfuura nomuno, anobva DRC anopfuura nomuno. Toita sei kuti tisimbise mawaya edu anotakura izvi kuitira kuti tikwanise kuti zvitakugwe. For instance, Zambia payanga ine shortage yakanotenga magetsi kuSouth Africa, but hatina kukwanisa kuaindisa kuZambia ese nenyaya yokuti matransmission edu anenge ava mashoma. Saka ndio chimwe chikamu chetatu. Chikamu chechina takati isu haungaiti izvozvo usina kuona kuti iyo zesa which is our utility yakamira sei. Saka takaipa yakapiwa nehurumende kuti chajai magetsi anoita kuti muwane mari yokuti mugadzirise zvinofana kugadzikwa, yetinoti cost reflective tariff. Iyoyo vakatopiwa, asi toramba chiongorora kuti ndizo here, nokuti tire chidavo kuti magetsi acho iwawo asadhurisa kuti kama vanhu vashayiwa magetsi iwawo asi iwo arimo munyika. Saka ukutoda kuti magetsi awande, ukutoda kuti vanhu vawane, but vanoawana sei kana vasina mari. Saka izvozvo zvine zvichigwidzana, tinoramba chingoongorora. Chokupedzisira ndio chokuti toda magetsi, tachishandisa coal, tachishandisa hydro, ndio zvinhu zviviri zvatachishandisa, asiko zvino hatichitarisai izvi zvetinoti renewable energy, solar, zuva raMwari ringopiwa. Chikuru chinotinetsa inyaya yeteknology. Saka iko zvino takasainirana chibvumirano neimwe kampani yokuIndia iri kuuya kuzoshanda neChinoi University kuti vagadziriseo technology muno yokuti tiite masolar panels edu muno. Saka ticharamba tichingokurudzira vokuZend nayo kunana Chinoi University kuti hatigadzirei zvinhu zvedu muno munyika kuitira kuti magetsi edu arambe achiita mutengo uri pasi. A floating solar project in Kariba. Fortunately, the Council of Ministers of the Zambezi River Authority made a decision to say, let's have a study of solar, floating solar on the Kariba. And we are getting some money from Afro-Exim Bank. That study will go on. But in the Council of Ministers resolution, it was agreed that any one of us who can do independent of ZRA should go ahead. So Zimbabwe has gone ahead, and the cabinet has awarded to a private company to go and do it. But to do that, there were a lot of studies that had to be taken. Grid impact assessment, how will that electricity be evacuated, since we have Kariba Dam and we have Kariba Power Station. Will the lines from there be able to take 600 megawatts? The answer is yes. So a lot of formulation studies were done between the company that was proposing and our ZESA people. The power purchase agreement was also looked at. Will that make sense? What will happen? So in some cases, you can actually operate this conjunctively, where during the day you are using the solar and you are conserving the water on the Kariba, and we are conserving our share of the water on the Kariba while we are using the solar. And at night, we start using our water allocation from the Zambezi River Authority. So that we are going to go ahead, and the company has said they are ready, and we have given them everything, including the environmental impact assessment of what will happen when you have solar panels floating on the river. What happens to the ecosystem in terms of your aquamarine and other. So all that has been done, and we are sure that the company, which thinks maybe yes, immediate financial closure, will be able to start.
How much are we committing in terms of investment money?
No, it's not us as government. is the company. We have given a concession. We said we want the private sector to participate. It's a private sector participation. Yeah.
Minister, I'll take the second question.
Thanks, Minister. I'm Owen from ZBC. Turning to the conference, you spoke about the number of exhibitors. You said about 40. How many delegates are we looking at?
We are looking at about 500.
500 delegates.
Yes.
And who is going to get a commission?
Oh, gift of honor in a country like this. Last year it was opened by the president of Botswana, and of course we expect that our president will be the guest of honor.
I don't know, the last one.
Yes. My name is Pranashi Maduro from Post News. When you were starting, you mentioned about
About
gas extraction. And can you kindly share with us the progress on those projects? And as well, I wanted to ask about duty-free solar, import duty for solar. But you answered in the most as well as
well, at present, the company that is doing gas has confirmed that there is a sizable, usable, and commercial viable gas in the Mzarabani area, normally called the Kabora Bassa gas basin. What we are now doing, led by the Minister of Finance, is to finalize the documentation of how we share the proceeds when the gas is being extracted. We are at that level right now.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
Okay.
Thank you very much, colleagues.